UFC 272 is almost here. I'm going to give you my final picks. We're going to build some lineups later in the video, and I'm going to show you the best way to use one of these on DraftKings. You can call me Kunith. Let's make some money this week. If you haven't heard by now, we went 11 for 11 on our picks last week. Thank you. But we're looking to build on that momentum coming into this week. Now, there have been 2 changes to the slate since our video from earlier in the week. If you haven't had the chance, go back and watch that. The link is in the description. The first change is that Ludovic Klein and Devonte Smith have been added to the slate. Klein is stepping in on short notice and up a weight class in this spot. I think you'll need the winner of this fight. Devonte Smith, win or lose, does not see the judges' scorecards, and this isn't just in the UFC, this is throughout his whole career. I don't expect anything different with this fight. I think the winner of this fight wins by knockout inside the first or second round. And I think more people are going to be on Ludovic Klein this week because he's probably the more talented fighter, but I like Smith's physicality and I like his power to get him the win in this spot. We've seen that Klein doesn't respond well to pressure, and he may let Devonte Smith control where this fight takes place. So I like Devonte Smith at this price, and I could actually see him going under-owned in most of your contests, and if he wins, it's probably going to be by way of knockout, so Devonte Smith looks like a pretty good play this week. And the second change, the much bigger change, is that Renato Moicano is now going to be fighting Rafael dos Anjos. Now, Moicano is stepping in on just a few days' notice, and I actually liked RDA at this price against Fiziev to begin with. And I liked him because I expected him to be the better grappler and come in at lower ownership. Now he's the favorite against Moicano and likely one of the highest owned fighters on the slate. And to me, the biggest reason that he is the favorite here is because Moicano was stepping in on short notice. Outside of that, I don't have a whole lot of reasons to love RDA in this spot. He's 37 and way past his prime. He hasn't fought since 2020. He's 2-4 in his last 6. He'll be at height and reach disadvantages. He's at a grappling disadvantage, and he was preparing to fight Rafael Fiziev, who's only looking to strike. Renato Moicano presents much different challenges than what RDA has been preparing for and what he's seen in recent years. When you look at RDA's opponents in the last few years, he hasn't really fought the greatest submission threats. Paul Felder is a striker. Michael Chiesa likes to grapple, but it's hard to call him a submission threat with how many times we've seen him choked out. Leon Edwards is a decision guy. Kevin Lee fights for Eagle FC. Kamaru Usman at the time was a decision guy. That was the big knock on Kamaru Usman, was that he wasn't finishing anybody. Colby Covington is a decision guy. Robbie Lawler likes to strike. He actually submitted Neil Magny. He beat Tarek Safadine, and he lost to Tony Ferguson back in 2016, who was the last real submission threat that he fought. Outside of that, he's fought a lot of guys who tend to go to decision. Granted, they're some of the best in the world, but not exactly jiu-jitsu aces on his record. I think Renato Moicano is the better fighter at this stage in their careers, and he may even submit Rafael dos Anjos in this spot. The only concern I have for Moicano is his cardio. 5 rounds is vastly different than 3, so I do worry about him late in this fight, but that's the only concern that I have. There's a lot that's made of Moicano's chin not being good, but RDA isn't a big puncher by any means. Now, if you watch this channel, you know that we're always looking for leverage and trying to gain an advantage against the field. By playing Moicano instead of Rafael dos Anjos, you're doing that in a big way because Dos Anjos is a decent favorite and he's priced at 7,300. A lot of people are going to get there. You're going to want to have one of these fighters in your lineups. With 5 rounds to work and being this low priced and as close of a fight as it is, you can't go wrong going either way in my opinion. But if you're looking to get different and take down a bigger contest, I think that going with Moicano makes a lot more sense. And I'm going to show you how I do exactly that in my contest this week, but first we're going to go over the value plays. These are fighters at 8,000 and below. Now I'll be honest, Jamie Mullarkey, Barboza, Negumereanu, Ludovic Klein, I see paths to victory for all of them, but I don't believe in paths to victory for all of them. This range right here looks like no man's land. I don't really want anything to do with it. I think the first value spot that you're going to see is Michal Oleksiejczuk at 7,600. We all know Oleksiejczuk has knockout power, so that automatically builds value into his price. And on top of that, when you look at who Dustin Jacoby has fought, you can safely say that Oleksiejczuk will be the best fighter that he's faced in the UFC. And Nzechukwu is going to have to close distance and fight from inside the pocket as often as possible to have success in this fight. Jacoby, being the taller, longer, more technical fighter, will have success from the outside. And if the fight is fought at range, I don't see any way that Oleksiejczuk is able to win. I think Dustin Jacoby would pick him apart. He's just far too technical. So what we want to see from Nzechukwu is him make this as dirty of a fight as he can. And the more that this looks like a dogfight, the better chances we have of getting our hand raised at 7,600. So I think there's decent value here. If we go down 100 salary, I think there's also decent value on Greg Hardy. Obviously, big knockout power, but also physical advantages are what will make Greg Hardy one of the most popular plays of the week. I could see a lot of the field getting here to capture that upside, and I agree with them. I think it's for good reason. I expect Greg Hardy to find a knockout inside the first round. We just know that Sergey Spivac doesn't respond well to being hit, and if he struggles to get Hardy to the ground, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. And if Spivac gets Hardy to the fence and let's say changes levels and is sitting there trying to secure a double leg, he can't stay there for too long because Hardy's going to be coming with elbows and strikes. So if Spivac's technique fails him and he gets into a brawl with Greg Hardy at any point, he's getting knocked out. So Greg Hardy looks like good value at 7,500. At 7,400, Marina Moroz, there is a clear path to victory for her in this fight. If she wrestles early and tires Agapova out, then she's probably going to be able to take over late. Maybe she even finds the finish late or at least steals rounds. There's a lot of unknowns considering her long layoff and how good Agapova looks in the first few minutes of her other fights, but I expect Mariya Agapova to go way over-owned this week. We can't just overlook the fact that she lost to Shayna Dobson. It's Shayna Dobson. She gassed out hard in that fight, and then she bounced back and looked good against Sabina Mazo, which looked great at the time, but I think we now know that Sabina Mazo's not all that high level, and she really struggles with the physicality that comes along with fighting. Moroz is a much tougher opponent, a much more dangerous opponent than someone like Sabina Mazo, and I like her at this price. I expect her to go way under-owned in your contest. She's just kind of going to be like Shayna Dobson, where after that initial storm, she isn't going anywhere and she's willing to wrestle. I think that Mariya Agapova is going to have real trouble if she can't put her away. At 7,300, Rafael dos Anjos, obviously great value if he wins, and he has 25 minutes to work with. The same could be said for Renato Moicano, again stepping in on short notice, questionable gas tank, but I think he has all the tools to beat RDA in this spot. Now with 5-round fights, when you play cash games or when you play really small field tournaments, you're looking to stack these to capture a decent floor. I'm playing a much smaller field, higher stakes single entry contest this week. Because the field is small, I think that I can actually get away with stacking this week. And I'm not looking to stack the main event. I think this is a great spot to stack the 5-round co-main event. And with the way that the pricing is, you could play Moicano and you could play Dos Anjos. Your average remaining salary is 8,900. So then we can afford somebody like Umar Nurmagomedov. We can afford the highest ceiling on the card in Colby Covington. We can afford an under-owned Tagir Ulanbekov. And we're still left with 7,500. So now this is where we would look to play either Greg Hardy or Marina Moroz. Now again, this is what I'm going to be doing this week because I'm playing a smaller field contest, but for most of you, you're probably going to play in contests with more players. So if that's the case, you can use this build as a starting point. Now let's say you think RDA is going to win, so you want to take out Moicano. I'd probably also take out Nurmagomedov because he's so expensive. Now you're looking in this mid-range and you'll probably find yourself playing somebody like Bryce Mitchell and then Kennedy and Nzechukwu. You can also come down here and switch off Marina Moroz for Greg Hardy if you're looking for more finishing upside. Now this lineup has Covington, Dos Anjos. That's going to be very chalky this week. You also have Bryce Mitchell, who a lot of people are going to get to, and Greg Hardy. The only thing that makes this lineup different, in my opinion, is Tagir Ulanbekov. I actually expect more people to play Nzechukwu than Ulanbekov this week. So this is a pretty chalky lineup. This is probably what you'll see in a lot of your contests. So a good way to get different in these spots is, again, if you wanted to come down to Renato Moicano, boom, this makes your lineup automatically way different. I think Devonte Smith being added to this would be a nice sneaky way to make this different as well. I feel much better about this build than the one that we had a moment ago. A few fighters that I think are going to go over-owned are like Marina Rodriguez and Kevin Holland. You could expect a lot of people to get to Agapova as well. And these are 3 fighters that I'm actually going to be staying away from. I'm not sold on Agapova winning her fight, I expect these two to win up here, but win decisions where they don't score as many points as you would like them to with the way that they're priced. Now, if you want to get super different and you're playing a really big contest, one way you can do that is starting with Nurmagomedov. His price is going to hold his ownership down a little bit. Sergey, Spivac, Devonte Smith. This lineup here is what you would play in the huge contest this week. This is going to be extremely different. This is that 1% kind of lineup. Now again, I wanted to share with you the best way to use one of these on DraftKings. This is our bulletproof $100 strategy. This is a fun way to approach the game. It's also a very responsible way to approach the game. And it all comes down to contest selection. I'm actually going to show you like this. I'm going to put a picture here of the contest that you should be entering. So first, you're going to filter down your search to single entry tournaments. You're going to enter the $12, the $5, and the $1 contests. This will be a total of $18, and these are relatively smaller field contests. Next, you'll go to the 3 max tournaments, and you'll enter 3 lineups in the $4 contest, totaling $12. Then you'll go to the 20 max contests, and you're going to enter 10 lineups into the $2 contest, totaling $20. At this point, you're $50 deep, you're in 5 different contests, you have 16 total lineups to play with, and there are over $4,000 of potential winnings for you. Now that's your first 50. Take the remaining 50 and put those in $5 cash games. If you're building your lineups correctly, you should be cashing consistently in these types of games. And we do it this way because, yes, if you win your tournaments, that's great, but if you lose your tournaments, as long as your cash games win, you'll be left with the $100 that you started with. And I share this with you because a lot of you ask me what contests you should be playing in. I think this is the most responsible way to go about it. And if you don't have $100, you can always scale this back, but smaller field single entry tournaments, and then offset what you put into these tournaments with cash games. Now there's also the $40 single entry that you can enter with only about 583 people in it for this week. That's a really good one. And then if you pay $100, $200, you could play some of the bigger contests. I'm in the 333 myself with only 32 other chumps that I need to stomp. So I'm looking to run that back. I'm looking to get that first place again, and I'm looking to do it with the picks from this video because we ride together, we die together. That's enough to subscribe, I'm sure. If you've gotten to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching, and I wish you the best of luck this weekend. I forgot to record this when I was making the video, so I'm going to give it to you real quick. From the top down, we have Colby Covington to win, Moicano to win, Bryce Mitchell, Kevin Holland, Greg Hardy, Jalen Turner, Marina Rodriguez, Kennedy Nzechukwu, Marina Moroz, Umar Nurmagomedov, Tagir Ulanbekov, Devonte Smith, and Dustin Jacoby. Throw the parlay together. Let's go.